Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us today. I have to remember I'm on webcam today. I don't do this very often, but we wanted to thank everyone for joining us on our very special episode of Customer Appreciation Week at SoftPro. And we do have a customer joining us today, which I'm going to get into in a second, but first a little bit of housekeeping. As usual, we are willing and love to accept questions. So if you have any comments or questions, please type them in either the chat or questions box and we'll monitor them. If by chance you have a question that we can't answer, we will certainly follow up. Speaking of follow up, we will send our usual recap with a recording link to this session. So if you were unable to attend in person or you want to share it within your organization, you can certainly do that. Like I mentioned, we are celebrating our Customer Appreciation Week because we would not be here without our awesome customers. So today we're going to do things a little different, and we are going to speak to a customer who so willingly put some time aside to talk to us. And we're just going to kind of ask some questions and talk about his business the past year and some SoftPro stuff he really likes or uses. And then we kind of compiled a group of SoftPro internal employees. We thought you might like hearing from people other than myself what happens at SoftPro, some of their favorite things about SoftPro and the software, some of the most commonly asked support questions, and just some different highlights from the different departments. So that's going to kind of be the second half, and they're going to go through some stuff. And it's going to be nice for a lot of you because I'm sure you've talked to them many times on the phone, so you can put a face to that voice now. I would be remiss, I'm going to, any personal plug, remind everyone that this is the beginning of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, thus I'm wearing pink. Those of you that know me very well are probably stunned to see me in a color that is not black or navy blue. So just wanted to throw that out there. So we're just raising awareness for the next month. So with that, I think we will get started, and I want to welcome David Welte. He is the operations manager with Midwest Title out of Omaha, Nebraska. So welcome, David.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for putting aside the time. So I mentioned that we were going to do just kind of a little Q&A with David, and we are interested to hear your take on the past year and a half. I know everybody's experience has been different. I know in some areas of the country they can't keep up with the orders with the market. Some areas of the countries were hit a little harder. And so this is the Midwest, like I said, Nebraska, and we haven't really had anybody on over the past year from that area. So how would you say you guys, what did you see over the last year? How did you guys stay busy over the whole pandemic thing, and just kind of what your overall experience has been?
Yeah, you know, I have to admit we're very fortunate here in the Midwest. The staying busy is not hard. We even in the 2008 meltdown to now, our local economies have been strong, and home values have continued to appreciate. So naturally, when March of 2019 now, right, or was it last year, 2020, March of 2020 hits, we're going into, okay, what is this going to bring? We're going from, we were planning our Escrow Association Nebraska spring education seminar. We had the president of the American Escrow Association slated to fly in and present and be a part of our local seminar. And here we started canceling events. I think we were at the season where the March Madness was beginning, the NCAA Division I and basketball tournaments, wrestling tournaments were starting, and these were getting canceled. And we're like, really? It's kind of that first shock of what was really going on in our nation. And are we really canceling these large scale events? Are we really canceling travel? And then, as a business owner and someone who is hands-on with the operation of our company, we're like, okay, well, how's this going to affect our business? We're about about that time we were about a 20-person operation, handling probably 300 to 400 transactions a month type volume, just to give volume, just kind of relative volume. And all of a sudden now, interest rates drop and our business doubles overnight, and then we were getting into the scary part of how are we going to keep our coworkers safe? What are we going to do? Lending institutions were closing their lobbies, and real estate brokerages and firms were closing their lobbies, and they were going to the title. They were saying go to the title company, and they're basically telling us to figure it out. Well, I mean, I think we were all kind of in a tailspin there about how are we going to accommodate our customers and get through this financial interest rate drop and business boom. How are we going to do this? How are we going to keep ourselves safe? How are we going to keep our customers safe? How are we going to operate? And I think everything got thrown into a tailspin. I think we all had to evaluate business structures and hours of operation and how to accommodate the business. So luckily for us, staying busy wasn't an issue or anything we did. The business drove just exploded. Staying successful, I guess that's an internal measuring tool. Some days I feel like we're failing. Some days I feel like we're succeeding. And thankfully, and I think it's why I was invited to be on the call here, is I'm a software nut. I love software. I mean, I implement everything that I learn at SoftPro user group, and I really try to integrate everything that I can to make my company efficient. And a lot of those things came into play last year. So busy, just naturally being in the Midwest, very thankful for it. Successful. That's a daily measure.
Yeah, no, I want to point out, we were talking a little bit beforehand that David, you are in a family-owned business, right?
Yes. Yep.
So,
If I refer to my father, or it's to my business partner and the owner of our company, that's correct.
yeah, so I think with a family-run business too, it's a little bit more pressure, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
something that
Oh yeah.
within your family you've created, and
Yes.
your
hmm
employees are like
Yes.
family. And so
Very
you
much
kind
so.
of want to, yeah. So, I think that was a challenge that a lot of people also had to deal with those type of companies. So, which, leads me to my next question is, how did you handle, staffing with your, busy schedules? Because not everybody could come in. And like you said, our
hmm
industry was the one that kind of had to step up and figure out how to keep the closings going. So how did you,
Yeah.
how did you keep your staff safe? How did you, also, how did you staff? I mean,
Yeah.
there's a staffing shortage right now still, right? I mean, so how did you handle that?
Yeah. It was probably the hardest part. We really didn't know what to expect, and we would never ask our employees not to do something that my father and I aren't willing to do ourselves, right?
Right.
And you know, I can't hindsight. We can look back, things we did right, things we did wrong, but at the end of the day, we had to protect our business and what we have built over 20 years. I actually became the receptionist. I moved myself up front and then I moved our receptionist and our coworkers to other areas of our office, so that they weren't interacting with people, right? We were keeping distance. We were socially distancing. So I stepped up and I moved right to the front. It's just something I took upon myself. And my father also, I mean, he's 66 years old, 67, and I know there's generations and ages that were in people with health concerns that this virus affected more, but he stepped up and he did sit downs and presented docs and everything he could do to keep things going. And luckily, our coworkers answered the call. Now, I would love to say that we could have moved home, and we really can't. I mean, as hands-on as our business is, when we'll dive into this as well. The notary solutions, lenders accepting electronically signed documents, notes, and where we're at with the industry today. But there was really no choice. We had to step up and meet with customers, and we just did everything we could. We did the in-car signings. We put up screens in our conference rooms. We had local supply companies come out and put hand sanitizing stations within our offices. We wore masks. We purchased masks and really just dove in. Now, staffing was, I mean, it was hard. I mean, just to give a share kind of growth and what we went through is, again, early 2020, we were a a 20-person operation. Today we're a 40-person operation. I
Wow.
mean, so in this 18, 19, 20 months, we've essentially doubled our staff. Thankfully, we had a second location in Omaha being renovated and built out, because there's no way at our current office or our old office that we could have even thought about doubling our staff. We were maxed out in that capacity as well. So just stroke of luck, we were building out a second location that got up and running. It was able to give us the ability to spread out. Now, we didn't know what this was going to bring, or how our business volume had doubled, but we didn't know if it was going to last a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. How long was this going to last? Was this a flash in the pan? Was the virus? Was it? We didn't really know the complexity of the virus at that point in time. We didn't know the long-term effects, and really, fortunately, being family business, we were able to find family members and people that could step in and help us fill the volume at that point in time. And that was temporary. But after the temporary solutions we had found, and family and people who came into work had to go back to regular jobs and move on, we really just started hiring. And it was not pretty, it was not fancy, it was not, hey, temp service. It was just, hey, you're looking for a job, here's what we have, are you interested, would you like to come in, assist with back. It was mainly back end processing. It was the handling the volume of the paperwork going through. But fortunately, we made it. We have a wonderful group of people working with us now that I say the best staff I've ever had. Great closers, great admin and processing staff. And I'm just very fortunate and proud of all my coworkers stepping up, answering the call. And not to take away from the healthcare industry, because we all know the nurses, the doctors, they were frontline. But I think a lot of title and escrow companies can relate to this. With the lending institutions closing their branches and real estate firms closing their branches, I mean, we were also thrust into the front. I mean, we could have made that decision not to put ourselves there, but I think just with a lot of title and escrow companies, I think, are smaller, family owned. I mean, just depending on throughout the nation, but we had to step up and we answered the call as well. And I'm proud of our industry for doing that. So wasn't pretty, but we made it, and we're in a good spot at this point in time. So
Yeah, you bring up a very good point. So many companies were able to stay in business because they had the ability to go remote, right?
yep.
They didn't have to have that face-to-face interactions,
Yep.
outside of your healthcare workers or your emergency workers. But yeah, I mean, we're kind of like a little forgotten piece of the industry that really you had to go face-to-face. And while you did have the emergency executions of Ron and, even Rin, you still had to have people come sign, it couldn't keep up with the times, right? There was no legislation around it. You had to make sure a lender was going to take it. You had to make sure you could electronically record it. So you guys had to figure out a way, all of our customers, that our whole industry, to stay in business while people were still purchasing homes. And I think because of that, I mean, we saw the end result. I mean, obviously the interest rates helped, but without all those closings, those houses would have just sat on the market. And our industry would not have, the real estate market as a whole would have taken a dive. So I think, you're correct. You didn't really have a choice. You just had to figure it out.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. Nebraska's for being a Midwestern conservative state. It's very progressive. I mean, they adopted electronic recordings. Everyone was on board with electronic recordings 10 years ago. So I mean that was handled, And then Nebraska actually passed. We were actually Nebraska's first electronic in-sign notaries. So this was about 5 or 6 years ago. So we've had a lot of those processes in place. We had been working with builders and investors and people who are knowledgeable of the industry, signing in person on an iPad. We've already had taken steps to eliminate paper there. Nebraska was passing, or was scheduled to pass, the RON legislation and the RON laws in July of 2020. So for them to turn that on in March, that we were ready for that. We already were ready to start implementing that. So we were very fortunate because we are a very tech favorable institution and whatnot. So we were ready for a lot of things.
Yeah, I live in Cook County in Chicago. We
Mm-hmm.
still paper record and hope we get a copy of our deed about 14 months later.
I can't.
So,
So in the growth of our business, again, I've been doing it for 20 years, and my first job out of college was the title. I went to the courthouse and did the title
yeah,
searching and examining, and I along with those duties came with taking the paper recordables to the county, and I can't even imagine if we still
yeah,
had to do that. I cannot
it's
imagine if we
crazy.
had to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
e-record was the first technological advance that really changed the industry, and it changed it made us more efficient. So
Well, I'm glad to hear your staffing issues aren't impeding you guys. I mean, nationally, that's a huge issue for all industries in general, but any industry that is requiring or requires you to go into the
yeah,
office still seems to really be suffering. I mean, a non-industry example here is, I mean, I live in the city, so my kids can walk to school, but there's no buses, there's no bus drivers. So,
yes,
you know, any after-school activities or sports, like if they want to play, they've got to either take the train or city bus, or parents have to take them. They just can't. And in the suburbs, they can't even come in for the game. So anything that's requiring people in person seems to still be struggling a little bit. So I'm glad to hear that you guys have
yeah,
been fortunate and have some
very
great team
fortunate.
members.
Yeah,
So let's talk SoftPro.
yeah, I love
One,
SoftPro.
we would love to hear about some of your favorite SoftPro features or integrations that have helped you guys stay efficient in product.
Yeah, I like I said, I mean, I have to go back all the way to 2010. My father's a traditionalist. I mean, he loves paper. I mean, he loved having hard files in his hand, cutting checks, handing out checks, and I just recognized back in 2010 it was not efficient. So I mean, I'm thankful that I love conferences and I love to learn. I'm a student of the game, but SoftPro user group. Love coming down. I've probably been to 5, maybe
Oh,
6.
wow.
So and try to really make it an annual event. Just because I want to maximize what the software has and what it can do. As far as our functionalities, integrations, and features, I mean, the automations are just unbelievable. I mean, it's probably been 3-4 years now since the automations have been rolled out. But with trying to social distance and spread out and
Yeah.
not pass paper, you really want to get your tasking in line and really dialed in. And the automations, the automations that we use the most are triggered by documents being added into the file. Yeah, the SoftPro image features, and then having automations trigger. Oh, sorry, I gotta wave at my. Sorry about that. No, it's a time delight, but really just getting the automations dialed in is with the SoftPro image, because again, handling paper is very, very manual. It's very, I mean, we have so much expense just with coworkers handling and processing the paper. We have the copy machines and everything that comes in with handling paper, but we don't necessarily want to pass files back and forth. Just because we have paper, we want to keep the paper confined to just the processing and filing area. We don't want our coworkers chasing things. So again, getting those automations to work off of documents being named has been just a life-saving. I mean, we already touched on the e-recording. I mean, I know there's multiple vendors that offer e-file, but you got to go back to Simplifile. Simplifile came into our local jurisdictions and provided it to the county offices doing the recording, but then they held town hall meetings and introduced it to the title companies as well. So really, your e-file, SoftPro Live. I mean, SoftPro Live. I mean, it's a great tool. It's a great notification tool. You can push data out to customers, giving them notifications that you're working on files. We also use task notification tool as well. I mean, the TNT and Live, they provide the same functionality, yet there's still some customers that just won't log into a service, you know, and that's a constant battle, you know. So what we do is we use task notification tool to introduce and give them knowledge of the information that's not private or public. So, you know, hey, here's your termite inspection, here's your title commitment, you know, work on your file. Now, if they really want to dig in and review these documents and whatnot, they can dive into live, pull down, you know, these documents, copies and everything. So really just love the automations, you know, and SoftPro 360 tools and integrations. And I love seeing new ones get introduced. And I mean, I emailed Dave Proctor direct, you know, and that's, for those that don't know, he's the live sales manager. He's really been in charge of live for the time frame that we've been using it. I'm asking him, hey, we're seeing this product or this application being used by the realtors. Is there an integration coming? What are you guys working? You know, and I'm really just trying to probe him to stay on top of new integrations coming out with 360 to, again, really push and use what SoftPro has to offer in an efficient manner.
Well, I'm glad you brought up SoftPro 360 because
Yep.
I was going to give David a shout out. He's amazing.
Yeah.
He loves getting those calls, so I'm glad you mentioned that as well. So to everyone else out there, the SoftPro 360 is our integration tool that is free to use within SoftPro, and it allows you to electronically be integrated with various vendors that you use. You mentioned Simplifile, and there's lots of other, you know, vendors on there for various services that you may use. But you know, we don't randomly just pick vendors. We generally get requests from customers and we see who, you know, the biggest need is or what the most requests are, and that's generally the kind of how we triage them, if you will. So if you're out there and you want to start using 360 and you don't see your vendor, simply just reach out, and it may or may not be somebody that is ready to work with us, or, you know, you might be down the pipeline, but at least find out where we are and what is available. I mean, to say that there's a lot of vendors to currently choose from, that your vendor may already be on there when you don't know it. I'm sure you could speak to the amount of services that are available through SoftPro 360.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it just all your underwriters are on there at this point in time. So you take for granted not having to order policy jackets and CPLs, that they all come into your software. And if you are trying to work without paper files, having that all integrated and downloading into SoftPro Image or SPI. I mean, it just, there's all the little things that are now instituted that you take for granted. There's so many of them out there.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the software internal people are going to speak to. Each of them kind of pick their own topics that they thought you guys would be interested in, but I can't stress to you the automation pieces. And a lot of people I know want that. They don't want necessarily to set it up. And that's okay, we can help you. It's not as terrible as you think, actually. You just really need to plot out your workflow, and you already know that, right? If you hire someone and train them, you have to go through that. So would you kind of just, I guess maybe like your overview of like the process of getting your automation set up versus the return?
It's so easy. I mean, you really just got to take your own comfort with software, right? And I'm very fortunate, again, not to beat a dead horse. I love software. I love getting it to work, but I'm also very fortunate. I have two other coworkers who love software as well. One of them happens to work on our escrow side. One of them happens to work on our title side. So we can kind of bounce things off of each other to get things rolling. But I mean, SoftPros, you really have to kind of understand if-then statements, right? And if this happens, then this triggers, right? And you know, you can tinker around and try creating them yourselves. And I'm always thinking of new things, and I'll email SoftPro or the support and, hey, will this work? Can we do this? And they'll say yes or no. But SoftPro is so helpful. They want you to use the automations, right? You guys want us to use the automations. I mean, I probably have worked with probably 5 different tech engineers or people, support staff and whatnot, and they'll help me write code. They'll dive in and we'll get on a screen share and help write code. But it really, if you need something done or if you want something to work, SoftPro's always provided the service and helped with writing the code to get the automations to work, you know. And there's probably things that SoftPro does now that I don't even know. I got to get to this year's user group conference to get caught up. But you guys' staff is so helpful and so friendly. I can't give you guys enough appreciation on helping me get things up and running and moving forward. So I recommend to everyone on the call, if you're curious about making SoftPro do something that is remedial or tedious that someone has to do manually, I promise you there is probably an automation for it, and it's not as hard as you think to set up. Let's just give the example of SoftPro Live. When SoftPro Live first launched, the automations weren't available, and it was the hardest thing for me to get my coworkers to publish data. In the early stages of Live, the data pipe was limited as well. So if they didn't publish, we ran into log jams as far as data goes. But that's all been fixed, and now the automations publish the data automatically. The coworkers no longer have to remember to publish because the software pushes it out itself, So I mean, that's just a small example of how everything works. And then when we're using, our electronic filing services and whatnot, the automations bring that data back in. You do not have to go chase the data, look for it to be in a ready state within 360 and manually pull that data back in. The software does it itself. And then you can set up features like if you want to deliver the recorded document to a group of customers, if you build in automations and have everything working, the second that data is pulled back into SoftPro from the county recording through your e-file service, the software can automatically send a notification and the recorded document out to your purchasers who maybe want to get a copy of their recorded warranty deed, your lending partners who want to get a copy of their security instrument, their mortgages, their deeds of trust. I mean, there's just so many. I could go on and on about all the useful tools you can implement within the automations and whatnot. So.
Yeah, and if you're not as tech savvy or your company's not as tech savvy, that is fine. That is the norm. We have multiple people in departments within SoftPro that can either come and consult on your workflow, that we have free webinars on it. I mean, there's so many resources. So if you want more information, certainly reach out to us or to your sales rep. And again, there's a lot of it you can do, but we're also there to assist. So I know our time is running out here a little bit, but I did want to talk briefly about with you. I know, again, you have a family-run business, and you guys like to stay real active in your community with some charitable work and stuff that you have done to help others. So I was wondering if you could, end on a high note and talk a little bit about outside the industry, what you guys are doing locally.
Yeah, I mean, locally, I mean, we all want our local economies to succeed, and there's tons of people out there in need at this point in time. We've continued to support probably the hardest hit groups of people in our local area are our bars and restaurants and things of that nature. We eat out a lot, we order out a lot. We just try to support our local economies there. My father has a soft heart and loves to support what we call the Lydia House here in Omaha, when they do diaper drives and whatnot to support mothers in need of help keeping their children up and running and healthy and whatnot. Locally, we have children in different local sports associations, so we sponsor through our sports associations. My brother's a big wrestling fan, and we helped a young man going off to college. We bought a car for them, to assist that kind of thing. But there is we just love all the people that support us, and we want to see our local economy thrive, and we want people we want to give people help through this, and we've been very fortunate, and it's a blessing, and we just try to provide and support those associations and everybody around us. So,
well, we appreciate it. I love to hear stories about good deeds in the local communities. I think that's where the grassroots needs to start. Nationally, obviously, it's great as well. SoftPro is huge on that. We allow our employees to have days off throughout the year to go volunteer at various local organizations. We promote it. We, always want to make our community better as well. So it's great to hear what you guys are all doing. David, I want to thank you. This has been great. It was wonderful talking to you, and obviously let us know if there's anything we can help you guys with, and hopefully we'll see you at our upcoming user group this year.
I know a lot of your people by first name. I get emails from everybody, and I'm looking forward to the announcement of where the user group's at. And I mean, anybody on this call, I mean, SoftPro user group is so useful, and there's vendors there that are advertising their services. There's so many of them. I mean, there's the Fluid Voti guys. They do a wonderful job. They got so many tools that they build onto things. I really recommend everybody looking into the Expedite e-sign services and what Black Knight's doing there with Expedite and Doc Verify. I mean, there's so many cool tools out there that you may not know exist. And SoftPro user group's a great place to start to introduce yourself to the vendors and people there that want to help you be successful. And also your group of people that can help with automations and build all this stuff out for you. So
I don't know, David, we might be recruiting you. You're a pretty good sales rep here, so Patrick Hampton might be reaching out to you soon. So.
Yeah.
All right, well, with that, I'm going to end this portion. And again, thank you so much for joining us, David. This was great. We love hearing from our customers and how things are going and how you're utilizing the software. So I appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And with that, I think we are going to move on to our internal staff. Perfect. And I am going to turn it over to Brandon Wallace. I'm going to let them all join themselves. But before I do turn it over to you, Brandon, I do want to remind everyone that we are giving away an Amazon gift card today. I believe it's $250 for Customer Appreciation Week, and they'll be randomly chosen and notified after the session. And I believe you had to be present for the session, so it's only for the people that are actually joining us live. So just a thank you to our customers for joining us for the past year and a half on these webinars and for always being there. We appreciate you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brandon Wallace.
I can unmute myself. Thank you, Leslie. I appreciate it. David, I'm pretty sure I've run into you at Spugs in previous years, so hopefully I'll be able to see you at one in the near future too. So just really quickly to introduce myself to all of you folks out there, I am Brandon Wallace. I am the manager of our technical support department here at SoftPro. I've been with SoftPro for about 6 years now, but I've got an additional 10 years of experience in the IT field outside of that. So I just want to share a few words today in regards to kind of, very similar stuff to what Leslie and David just talked about. It's how you engage with SoftPro. Coming from a support department perspective, let me start by saying we want you to reach out to us. When you're having an issue, anytime you're encountering anything that's a stumbling block for you or anything that's preventing you from being as successful as you feel you can be, please absolutely let us know. Reach out to us, give us a call, shoot us an email. And we'll get back in touch with you and start kind of figuring out what's going on and how we can address it for you. So I want to talk about that piece a little bit too, how to decide how to determine what the issue is. Now, it's pretty straightforward and simple. I'm on my computer, I'm trying to print something, and I get an error pop up that says I can't print this. That's enough right there to entice you, to get you to reach out to our support department and let us help you. Absolutely enough. We don't need any more information than that. We'll ask you additional questions when we call you or when we engage with you to help us scope out the problem. But that's absolutely a sufficient amount of data to send our way, right? We need to know who you are, but past that, we can dig into the rest of the stuff. However, I've had a lot of success with customers out there who do a large part of scoping any issue internally. Some of our customers have internal IT departments that vet all SoftPro issues before they hit our support queues, and that's absolutely fantastic. But there's a lot of work that each user can do to kind of better understand the specific issue that they're having too. This is all about scoping, right? Are you the only person that's affected? Are other users able to reproduce the issue? Is the issue specific to an order? Is it specific to a profile that you're working under? Are you able to print the same document just fine on somebody else's computer? That's absolutely great information and information that we absolutely need and we will dig into when we reach out to you. But if you can get us that information up front, that's fantastic. It saves us a little bit of time when it comes to actually digging into determining the cause and the resolution for your issue. Now, that said, much more important than you guys providing us with scoping information that we can absolutely and should get and will get for you, it's more important to me that you actually let us know you're having a problem. I've encountered several customers over the past several years who kind of sit on an issue and don't report it, A, because the workaround's sufficient for them. They don't feel they actually need to get it fixed, or it's not that big of a headache to them, or they don't think that they'll get the engagement from us that they need to get this issue solved. And that can lead to something called issue fatigue, right? And that's where you just become so used to and so complacent with a specific error or a workflow problem that you just move on your day. You don't even see it anymore. And my ask to all of you out there is don't function that way. If it is impeding your ability to be successful, it's important to us. Please absolutely let us know. If you have scoping information, that's wonderful. Please share that information with us, but don't feel like that's a prerequisite for coming to get our help. We're more than happy to reach out to you and work with you to gather that scoping information. So really, that's it. That's the words that I want to leave with you. You're certainly not standing alone out there. Like, we are SoftPro. We do want you to be successful within our application. And if it's impeding you, it's important for us to look into and to try to resolve for you as quickly as we can. More important than getting scoping detail, just let us know when you're having the issue. Reach out to us so that we can start working on your problem. That's about it for me. I'm going to turn this over to Chris Hester, who is also on our support team.
Thank you, Brandon, for that. My name is Christopher Hester. I am one of two lead support analysts here at SoftPro. Today, I want to share kind of like a common case, rather, question we receive often in support. This is mainly to display unique features in Select that I feel you may or may not be aware of. To get started, this is referencing the toggling feature within orders, whether you may be wanting to convert a HUD to a CD order or vice versa, CD to a HUD. And we have to appreciate how Select is very customizable to where it allows for such tools to be implemented into the program and accomplish things at ease for us. With these tools, it allows us to save a lot of time, and it kind of alleviates us from having to complete those manual tasks, I guess I should say. But there are some instances where we would have to maybe have some type of manual control, for example, where we need to maybe create an order. So the example I want to show you today is where we will take a existing order and overlay it onto a new order. We get this case all the time in support where users would want their attachments to carry over with them. And it's from my understanding that it's not a default feature where these attachments will carry over. And that's mainly because we don't want to assume that those specific attachments would apply to the new order. So let me see if I can share my screen, and I will show in a brief example. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Again, I'm just going to show really fast how to manually convert a file or just overlay one file to another, and then how I would typically run through a customer on how to move attachments from those two orders, since they don't carry over automatically. So in this example, I have a file, and this file is set up as a HUD. And then if I look in here, I'll have my associated attachments that are in this order. Now, as we all know, when we come and create a new order, we can apply the old as a template. So if I were to come here, I will select my old order. With this being done, I've now effectively created a new order, and I'm going to apply the old one on top of it. This will change my settlement type for me, and it's going to apply all the same information that exists in that old order. For example, sales price, property information, loan amount information, order contacts, everything you think of will carry over into this order. But the one thing that doesn't is our attachments. And then once this is completed, I'll show you guys a quick feature tip, I guess I would say, on how to make that process a little easier for everyone. So now we have here my files open. I've overlaid everything on top of it. I have my order contacts, express order entry, proper information. And as I open attachments, everything's blank. I don't have any associated attachments in here. And again, that's based off the assumption that we don't want to bring, or maybe we don't want to bring every single attachment into this order. There's actually permissions by default set within the program where it may limit users from being able to delete attachments. So it's a lot easier to add than to remove. But now that this is done, I'm going to head back and I'm going to open my old order that I just overlaid this on top of. And so this is my old order, and I can see my attachments are still here and they still exist. The feature or tip I want to display to everyone is that you can actually open 2 orders at once at the same time. To do so, I'll hover over any tabs really that I'd wish to use or bring, and I'm going to click and hold with my mouse and drag it down. This effectively will allow me to open 2 orders simultaneously and work between them at the same time. Now that I'm in here, I can see my attachments containing in this order, and then I also can still navigate within the new order I made and also go into the attachments. Let me expand my screen a bit so that this will sync up. So technical difficulties here. It should be just in line, just like it shows here on the right side column. Of course, whenever you go to show someone something, it doesn't always act quite the same. Expand this. Okay. Well, it's not wanting to do it for me, but select would, in a sense, have this column show the same. There it is. Okay, I've got to expand the window a bit. So now that I have both orders open, I can see my attachments. I can see both orders. You effectively can take all of your attachments from the original order that we want and simply drag and drop them into the new order, effectively saving you time for having to maybe go to your secure transfer drive, try to locate where those original attachments lived, or maybe dragging, dropping to the desktop and then back into the new order. This will save you a lot more time just to simply drag and then drop. Now, this is a test environment, so again, I did this earlier and it worked like a charm. Of course, whenever you show someone, it might give us a little different experience. But effectively, drag and drop. Once the attachments are in the new order, you simply save and you're finished and completed. Saving may typically last a little bit longer because you're then putting all those attachments at one time. And then as we see now they're here, I can save my order and I'm finished. I can go through each one of these folders if I wanted to and then drag and drop them into the other containing file. That's pretty much it. Like I said, this is just kind of like a common case that we typically see in support, and I figured it may be very helpful to kind of display it for a feature for you guys. So I'm happy I was able to do that for you today.
So, hi everyone. My name is Sarah Hay. I've been privileged to call myself part of the SoftPro family for about 8 years. I'm not going to date myself by telling you how much longer than that I've been in the industry. I work for SoftPro's Business Services Group as an implementation specialist. Say that 10 times fast for me. I know a lot of you are probably asking, what is an implementation specialist? I don't really have time today to go into detail, but let's just say I help set up a new customer's SoftPro system for them. I want to play a little game. What do you do if? What do you do if your old software contract is expiring and you need SoftPro ASAP? What do you do if your computer crashes, you've got a new one, but you need SoftPro installed? What do you do if you have a server crash, you need SoftPro installed again ASAP? And what do you do if you have 25 users, the server's crashed, everyone needs access to SoftPro? You call SoftPro. That's what we're here for. I'm sure over time, you've all had the opportunity to speak to people from at least one of our different teams, whether it be support, sales, implementation, or any of our numerous other groups. Maybe you've talked to all of them at one time or another. When something like one of the above what ifs happens, SoftPro is here for you. That's what we do. Now, our normal implementation time to set up a new environment is about 2 weeks for a very basic implementation package. The more customizing you need, the longer the time frame is for setup. But this is all determined during your conversation with our sales team. In one of these emergency scenarios, you don't have that minimum 2-week time frame. the end of the month, you've got 100 closings you've got to get done in the next 3 days, and you've got to get those documents ready now. Over the years, all of our teams have seen all of these different scenarios come up, and a bunch of others as well. What do? We make sure that you have a software to work in. It doesn't matter if you've got standard, enterprise, or select. We're going to make it happen. We will make sure that you have an environment to work in as soon as we possibly can, and that's often within 24 to 48 hours. The first thing we want to do is to make sure you have a place to enter your orders and prepare those closing statements and documents. We will install a new version of SoftPro. Again, doesn't matter if it's standard, enterprise, or select, whatever you are working on. And this is the new environment that's going to get you started. If it's a new customer emergency, this is going to give you a starting place where you're going to enter your orders, and we'll work through the customization of SoftPro after you've started entering those orders. We don't want you to have any downtime. That's the biggest thing. There are times, though, when it's a computer or server crash. In these cases, we're going to stand up SoftPro for you wherever you need us to. We're going to ask you or your IT if you can provide a backup from your old system. If you have a backup, we're going to restore that backup so that you can access that old data. We've also had situations where a server's crashed, a backup wasn't available, and there was really no environment for us to install a new local version of SoftPro on. In these cases, we're going to add you to our select host DC or hosted desktop client platform and give you a place to work. I have just a couple of quick examples for you. We've seen several more than this come up over the years, but just a couple. Several years ago, we had a customer with about 20 users using our standard version of SoftPro. Their entire system went down. They didn't have a backup. I was able to build a new environment or a new database for them to work in, and our support team was able to install it the same day for them. And then just recently, the same scenario happened with a select customer. This particular customer lost their entire server, but they had a lot of users that needed to access the program ASAP. We were able to stand them up on our host DC, our hosted desktop client environment, and give them a place to work. They were working within a couple of days. In all of these cases, we are able to give you a place to enter those 100 sets of closing statements, 100 orders with closing statements and documents, and get them done in a quick enough time frame that you don't see a blip. We don't want you to run into that blip. One thing that I'm going to mention, just because I tell this to all of my software users and anybody else that I talk to, make sure your backup is running. Make sure it's backing up daily if you can, or often if you can. We want to make sure that you have access to your old data as well as get you running as soon as possible. Hopefully this never happens. Like I say, I've seen it a few times, but just remember, in times of closing or software crisis, SoftPro is here for you. We've always got your back. And on that note, I'm going to pass this over to Patsy.
So good morning, good afternoon, based on where you're at. I'm Patsy Epperson. I am the Senior Business Consultant at SoftPro and been there working on my 14th year. So kind of like the place. It's been good. So thank you, David, for talking a little bit about automation and tasking, because I find automation and tasking to be one of the very best features of Select. It's what a lot of my consulting customers ask for. So what the consulting piece is let's say you've been on the software for 2 years, 3 years, 6 months, whatever the case may be, and you feel like you're just not getting everything out of Select that you can. You feel like there's just so much more that you can do. That's where the consulting team comes in. We can analyze the use, how your users are working in the software. We can look at the setup, see where we might be able to create some changes, modifications, updates, and the goal being to find ways to make things work easier and more efficiently and more accurately for your users. What I'm going to show you today is an example of an automation process that I recently set up for a customer. One of the screens that we try to keep the users off of is our status screen. The status screen, where you set your order status, your title status, your escrow status, Those three pieces of information are very important when you're running reports. So we want the software to take care of those screens. We want the software to change those statuses when something happens in the order to trigger that. So with the goal of trying to keep the users out of the status screen, what we did was we created an automation process. So I thought it would be easier for you to follow it if I just had it drawn out here. So one of the big things is when an order cancels. There's some things that need to be done when that cancels. Well, we want the user to stay off of the status screen. So for this customer, what we did was we created a task called order canceled. If an order cancels, my user just goes to the tasks screen because they're used to working there. They go in and add the task order canceled and they mark it completed. They save and close their file. We have an automation process set up that recognizes that that task now exists in that order and it is marked completed. So automation will add another task, refund earnest money deposit, with a status of required, and it will be assigned to whoever handles that. In this particular instance, that someone from their accounting department would handle that. So it automatically gets assigned for that. And it also adds a pop-up note to remind the user to cancel the CPL. Once that refund earnest money deposit task is either completed or marked NA, then automation says, oh, that's been taken care of now. So automation goes in, sets our order, title, and escrow statuses to canceled. It sets the status of any open task to NA so that it takes those out of the works, and it removes the settlement date. Now, why do we remove the settlement date? A lot of times you go to run a report. Let's say you want to run an order count report. If you don't tell it to exclude canceled, and that order still has a settlement date in it that falls within the range you're running your report for, that order is going to get counted and it's going to show up. So if we take the settlement date out, we're no longer grabbing those orders. So we're also removing the settlement date. So that now effectively took care of handling the earnest money deposit, getting that either refund or if you're not holding it, mark it NA, gets your statuses changed on the status screen, marks off any outstanding task, and takes that settlement date out just by adding that one task. And a little additional benefit of that is it also creates a task, that refund earnest money deposit task. We can create a work list and run against that to make sure that all of those earnest money deposits are timely handled and refunded or handled however they need to be. So it gave this company a lot of avenues to be able to report and track and make sure that canceled orders are handled properly. So that's just an example. I love thinking out of the box. I love for you to tell me, hey, is there any way we can do this? Because I want to figure that out. So thank you. Anyone has any questions about automation and tasking, drop a comment and we'll be happy to get with you, talk to you about our consulting services and what all benefits that we have to offer. Thanks, guys. Jonathan, you're up.
Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing well today. I'm Jonathan Sauls. I am the sales team lead. I've been with SoftPro for about 10 years now, and I focus on our annual maintenance service, which is your telephone support updates, as well as our reconciliation services and some modules, Positive Pay and ProClear. So I'll be quick. I know we're getting close to the end of time here, so just want to tell you a quick story. So we had a customer recently, we reconcile for them on a daily basis, and their reconciler found that a fraudulent check had cleared their account the day before, right? So they reached out to that customer right away, let them know about this check, and they were able to contact their bank, and their bank was able to take some action on that. I will say that when we do see fraudulent checks clear the account, normally we see one come through and then maybe a flurry of 10 come through, within the coming days. It's sort of like they're testing it out to see if that check will go, and then they'll follow it with many more checks. So important to think that daily reconciliation here is the ability to catch items like that very quickly that occur on your account. One great other piece about daily reconciliation relates to wires, right? So if your folks are posting wires in the software because they're expecting that wire to hit the account, then the next day it does not, by the next day it has not been in the account yet. That would be on a daily report, and you'd see that, hey, this wire is not there. We expected it. I need to reach out and find out where that wire is. Just to quickly transition from reconciliation into positive pay, because we were talking about check fraud. Positive pay is a service that all of you should reach out to your banks to see if they offer positive pay. And positive pay is you send a file of all your issued checks to your bank, and then your bank only allows those checks to clear. If somebody were to present a check that was not in that file, then that goes back to your team, and they have to manually decide if they want this check to clear or not to clear. We do have positive pay module that allows you to create this file, and on the back end, we are designing it based off of a format specification we get from your bank. Every bank's a little bit different as to how they want this file to look, so we design it so really on your end, you're just selecting all the checks, you're clicking a button to save the file, and then that's what you log into your online banking and upload to your bank. If you have any questions regarding our reconciliation service or PosiPay, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to help. I can also get you connected to our support team or something like that if you need assistance from them. I'd like to pass it over to Jill. She will be the last presenter here, I think, and I want you to pay close attention to how many years she's been with SoftPro. Jill?
Thank you, Jonathan. I wasn't going to age myself that way, but I'll just say I've been with SoftPro many years. I'm part of the marketing team. I've been in a variety of roles at SoftPro, and planning our annual user group conference is one of the most rewarding things that I do. And I couldn't have asked for a better lead in from David. I should just turn this back over to him and let him plug user group for us. But it's what he said as far as people come year after year for that experience. It's a 3-day conference. It's a 3-day event. It's exclusively for SoftPro customers. And it's about getting the most out of your software, but perhaps more than that, it's about networking with other users to see how they're using the software. It's meeting vendors, our 360 vendors, come and exhibit each year. You can also talk one-on-one with SoftPro experts in our SoftPro Innovation Showcase, or you can schedule an appointment one-on-one for our support lab. So it's just a great opportunity, and if you've not been, I really encourage you to go. We're looking forward in 2022 to going back to in-person. Our last 2 conferences due to the pandemic were remote, but one thing we're really excited about for 2022 is we're going somewhere we've never been before. So I hope everybody will get their cowboy hats out, and I hope they will dust their boots off and join us, because we are going to San Antonio, Texas for the first time. And we're just very excited that we'll be in San Antonio. We're going to be at the beautiful La Cantera Resort and Spa. It's in the hill country just outside San Antonio, so you're not down in the thick of the Riverwalk area, although you'll have opportunities to go there. But it's just a beautiful setting. We like to say the conference is a great opportunity to combine work with fun. And we do kick off the conference on Wednesday. It'll be April 20th, Wednesday, where we'll have a conference or a banquet that evening. And then Thursday and Friday are where you can join sessions, hear speakers. We always have Leslie join us each year with an industry and regulatory kickoff that's always very well received. And again, we just want people to come and absorb so that they can leave with that renewed energy and actionable ideas that they can go back and apply in their office. It is Customer Appreciation Week, and we're going to tip you guys off that this Friday, check your email, because we're going to be giving away a registration, one complimentary registration to our 2022 user group conference. You guys are the first ones to hear about that giveaway, so you're getting a jump on everybody by joining us. I also wanted to remind you, with Customer Appreciation Week, don't forget our Traeger grill giveaway. You can share your favorite SoftPro feature on social media and just use the hashtag SoftPro favorite 2021 and get your entry in by 3 o'clock this Thursday, and then we'll be drawing from all those submitted entries. So that's it. I'm going to turn it back over to Leslie. Thanks so much for joining us.
Jill, your hat looks amazing. I cannot wait for San Antonio. I was super bummed when we couldn't go before. I just want to reiterate what Jill said. It is Customer Appreciation Week, and we appreciate all of you. Like I started this episode with, we would be nothing without our customers. So I noted, I was just going through the questions, and we had some great requests. We had some great comments. We will sort through them, and anything that you need an answer for, we will certainly include either in the recap, or we will reach directly out to you. So if you didn't get your question answered, please don't worry. We will absolutely do it. Also, I realize now too, my pantry is now open because I had a snack, and now you can all see all the food that I have in my pantry. So you're welcome. Anyway, check your email on Friday. Check your email also to see which one of our lucky attendees won the Amazon gift card. That'll be coming shortly as well. Thank you all for joining us today, for being our customer, our partner. We definitely feel that you are all partners. Also, remember, wear pink, breast cancer awareness, do good in your communities, and please let us know what we can do to help you guys in any way. We really appreciate you, and we hope to see you on our next episode. Bye, everyone.